There we go. Okay. Again, my name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts, and today we're going to be looking at the basics of inventory management in the Shortcuts point of sale system. So if you're new to the system, perhaps you're redoing your inventory, you're working with your team to try to make sure you have all of your products updated, that you're tracking everything correctly, and that you're configuring Shortcuts to make sure that in the future, if you're ordering or receiving through Shortcuts, everything is accurate. This is the classroom session for you. So as with previous sessions, if you're unable to stay through the whole thing, don't worry. We are recording and we will send you a link a little bit later this day. If you also have questions after today's presentation, you can always reach out to us and we will get back to you. So this presentation is about 30 minutes, give or take. We will leave some time for questions at the end. And again, if you have any questions after the fact, go ahead and reach out to us and we will get back to you. So the focus on today, inventory. So we want you to be absolutely comfortable working with inventory in the Shortcuts point of sale system on your Shortcuts server. So in order to do that, you need to know, how does everything work in the system? So how does a product, a line, a company, and even a supplier, how do all of those things work together? So we also want you to be familiar with the product setup screen. We want you to know how to add new suppliers, companies, lines, and products, how to work with your levels, whether those be your current levels or whether you're ordering your minimum levels, your maximum levels. How does all of that work? And then how to make items active or inactive in case you decide you want to stop carrying a certain product. And even to know, how are the products really moving? What is their sales history? Or are they being used for back bar? So how do you keep track of these things? So we're going to look at a lot of the basics and shortcuts. So the first thing everybody should understand, whether you've been using shortcuts for years or you're new to the system, is how Shortcuts organizes all of your inventory. And this goes for both retail and professional. At the very, very top, the first level, the first thing Shortcuts wants to know is, from which supplier do you receive this certain product or this certain company? Now, it is possible that sometimes you order it directly from the manufacturer or you order through two different beauty supplies, but I want you to think about the majority of the time you actually order it. You usually have one main supplier, so that has to be entered in the system. And in a moment, I'll show you exactly where to enter this. Once Shortcuts knows who your suppliers are, then you can begin introducing the individual companies. So, are you carrying Redken, American Crew, John Paul Mitchell? So then you have a main company that you carry. And of course, with big companies like that, they usually have multiple lines. Sometimes they have dozens of different lines, whether they have color or whether they have chemical products and even different types of color products, shampoos, conditioners. So those are all different lines that they carry. So Shortcuts actually separates all of the individual lines just so that you can keep track of everything. Once you tell Shortcuts, these are my specific lines that I carry, then you can begin introducing the individual products. And of course, you may carry multiple versions of the same product, perhaps in different sizes. One may be a travel size, one may be your normal consumer retail size, and one may be your professional size, your 2-liter bottle, for example. So Shortcuts allows you to track all of these, and it makes distinctions between every level based on either supplier, company, line, or product. So we're actually going to do live demos on all of this. The first thing we want to know is how to add a supplier, how to add a company, and how to add a line. Now, many of you may already have this set up, so this is going to be a review. And of course, hopefully you have a manager or a receptionist sitting in so that they can also watch this. Hold on for just a moment. And the street sweeper just passed by, so I muted the microphone for just a moment. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to add those or how to edit those in case they're already in your system. The second thing we're going to look at is, so we're actually going to jump right into the product screen. So I'll get out of here and into shortcuts. So most of you may have a product screen that looks similar to this. At the very top, you have a business and all of your individual companies. And of course, under each company, what are the lines that you carry and whether it's retail or professional. So before we even enter any of these products, the first thing you should do from this window is actually tell Shortcuts what suppliers do you work with. So on the right side, we're on the inventory button under tools, and we're going to the products button. So inventory products. And on this window, the first thing we do is we always sort by supplier. Okay, so now that we're in supplier, I'm going to tell Shortcuts, this is my main list of suppliers. And even though I order from a bunch of different suppliers, perhaps 90% of everything I order comes from one or two suppliers, maybe Dermalogica or Amazon. So to add a new supplier, if you've never added a supplier before, at the very top of the screen, the very first row is business. So we're going to choose business, and at the bottom left, we're going to add a new supplier. So let's see, Cosmoprof's in here. Most of my big suppliers are already in the system. But always press new and enter the name of your new supplier. Once your supplier is in here, if you get a moment and you know the contact information for your rep, then I want you to go to the button at the bottom of the screen, excuse me for a second, and press the details button. So Shortcuts has the ability to send an order of products directly to your rep. And the way it knows who to send, who to print or email this to is based on the details that you provide here. So it's important that you fill all of the information on the left column, your supplier details. That's where Shortcuts will put in their contact information on the form itself and have the option to email them. On the right side, if you have an account or a shipping reference number, you can also enter that. So when you get a chance, enter all of your supplier details. So once you have all of your suppliers entered into Shortcuts, then you can tell Shortcuts what are the specific companies that you're carrying. So on this window, perhaps you have a few dozen like I do, or maybe you just have one or two main companies that you carry. So the first thing you'll need to do in order to add a new company is, again, click on the word business on the top left and then press new. Once you do that, Shortcuts will then say, okay, what is the name of the company? We'll of course enter the name. And the first question Shortcuts ask, and let me see, is there something that's missing here? Yes, I'm actually going to add a new company. So I'll choose business, and let's say I'm adding American Crew. So who's my default supplier? So again, I have dozens of different suppliers, but perhaps I order them from Cosmoprof. I don't necessarily need to fill in the rest of the information just yet, but this is why it's important to always have your supplier set first, because whenever you enter a new company, this is how Shortcuts will begin tracking this information. So we'll say Cosmoprof and press done. So now American Crew has been added to my list of companies. So the second thing I need to do is tell Shortcuts, what lines am I carrying from American Crew? So I'm carrying perhaps 2 or 3 different lines. So I will choose the company and then press new again. So the first thing I have from them is I order shampoo. So then I'll click American Crew again, and then new. The other line I carry from them is styling products. What else do I carry from American Crew? Perhaps I carry some of their conditioners. So those are the three main things I carry from American Crew. I carry their line of shampoos, styling products, and conditioners. So I can begin with any three of these lines I've just added. I can start with shampoo and press new. And perhaps the first thing I carry from them is their dandruff control. Not, there we go, control. And it doesn't hurt to put in the size of the bottle. So maybe it's a really big bottle, 16-ounce bottle. And now I can put in either the buy price or the sell price for this. If I have the bottle in my hand, and if I have a barcode scanner, then I can go over to the column that says primary, and this is actually primary barcode. So when I click in here and I scan the bottle, Shortcuts will then enter the number on that bottle. So I've entered my first product. So I'm going to press new and maybe add my other one. So I actually carry two versions of the dandruff control. And maybe I have a travel size one, a 3-ounce bottle. Again, I can enter my buy and sell price and then scan that barcode in. So now you'll want to do this for all of your products. Whether it's a professional product or a retail product, add it to the appropriate line. So we need to be able to tell the difference between what's your retail and what's your back bar. If you haven't done so already, at the very, very top of the screen where we have all of our column headers, if you right click at the very top of the column headers, I want you to go to properties and I want you to go to retail. So this is going to add a brand new line at the right side of the screen. So now you can actually tell Shortcuts which one of these products is my actual back bar. So if I have a third size bottle of dandruff control, so I'll choose shampoo and press new. And I have, again, maybe this is my 1-gallon bottle. And sure, I can put a barcode on it, but I'm going to tell Shortcuts I don't sell the gallon bottles. This is only for my team to use. So you'll notice anything marked as professional shows up in italic. Anything marked as professional also is not available for customers to buy at the point of sale. So keep this in mind. So now let's look at the middle columns where it says current, maximum, minimum, and warning. And these are all levels. So what exactly do these represent? Well, current, as you can imagine, current tells Shortcuts how many of these bottles do you actually have in stock. So let's say I had 7 of this one, and I had 4 of the travel ones, and just 2 of the gallons. Now, maximum and minimum level. What is this designed for? If you ever place an order from Shortcuts, this is how we help Shortcuts know how many bottles or how many items to place in that order form. So I can tell Shortcuts, always order against my maximum or always order against my minimum. So if I go to maximum and I tell Shortcuts for the dandruff control bottle, the most I need to have in stock is 10 bottles. The minimum I need to keep in stock is actually 4 bottles. And warning, this is an option that you have in Shortcuts. At the point of sale, when you get down to a certain number, let's say 2 bottles, Shortcuts will actually give you a warning. It'll say you only have 2 of these bottles left. Please, it'll remind you to order more. So based on these current settings, if I were to tell Shortcuts, I'm going to order from Cosmoprof some shampoo from American Crew, and I need you to generate an order for me. Then Shortcuts is going to look at my maximum, and if I tell it order against my maximum, Shortcuts will say, okay, based on your levels, I'm going to put 3 bottles of this shampoo on your order form. And if I tell Shortcuts order against my minimum, then Shortcuts is going to look at the shampoo and say, don't order any. You're above your minimum. So this is how these 2 columns work. Now, not every location needs both a maximum and a minimum. It depends on your business. Do you always need to keep your shelves up to stock, or are you pretty good about ordering and predicting what you need? In that case, then just set it against either a maximum or a minimum. And again, the warning is an option at the point of sale. If you don't really want Shortcuts to prompt you at the point of sale when you're down to your last 1 or 2 bottles, you can also disable this. So adding suppliers, adding companies, adding lines and products, it's pretty straightforward in Shortcuts. And once you know how that's organized, then it'll help you start to set all of your individual companies and products. Now there are 2 buttons, and if you're listening right now, or if you're watching the recording later today, I want you to write down your 2 search buttons in the Shortcuts point of sale. Or sorry, in the product screen, because they will work in the point of sale. The first one, if you have a really long list of products like I do, and you don't necessarily want to open a million folders to look for something, if you press the F3 button on your keyboard, so your function 3 button, F3, that's your keyword search. So as soon as you start typing the name of a product, then Shortcuts will narrow it down. And once you press done, Shortcuts will put that product at the top of the screen. So now I don't have to open a bunch of folders looking for it. Just press F3 and type in the name. So if your business does not have a barcode scanner, but you do have all of the names of the products in your system, a staff member, when they're at the point of sale, can press F3 and search for the specific product. So you don't need your barcode scanner. But barcodes come in really handy. And this is your second button that you want to write down. Sometimes you have a bottle and the label's worn off a little. So you're not quite sure, is this a styling product? Is this a shampoo? Is this a conditioner? I can't read what's on the label, but I still have the barcode. So if you press F5 on your keyboard, that's your barcode search. So then you can scan in that barcode and you can tell Shortcuts, print me up a new label. So then you can affix it to your bottle. Again, barcode search also works at the point of sale. So a staff member can just press F5, scan in the barcode, and as long as it's in the system, it'll help you find that product. So I hope this is starting to make a little bit more sense to you. Now, this is something that's probably happened to you. It's happened in the past. It's going to happen again in the future. You're going to get a shipment of products from your company, and you're going to notice everything's the same. The size of the product, the price of the product, everything's exactly the same, except this company changed the barcode on me. Of course, I still have a number of bottles left on the shelf, so I don't want to replace the old barcode with a new barcode because then I can't check it out. So in Shortcuts, you actually have the ability to have multiple barcodes for the same product. So to do that, if I had gotten a new shipment of dandruff control and I noticed my barcode was different, then what I want to do is choose that product, and at the bottom of the screen, I want to go to the details for that product. And on the left side, I have a series of options. So I'm going to go to the barcode option. So here's my original barcode. So this is still going to work for the 7 or 8 bottles I have on the shelf. But if I press new, now I can scan in my secondary barcode. So now both of these barcodes will actually work at the point of sale for the same product. And I can even tell shortcuts moving forward, the next time I place an order or receive an order, this is going to be my main barcode. I'll set it as primary and press done. So that should help the next time you receive a shipment and the manufacturer updates the barcodes for you. Now, as you start organizing your inventory, if you had never set your suppliers previously, and that's the first thing you do, then we still need to go back and fix that information in shortcuts. So I will return to supplier. So here's the catch. Even though I do have a number of suppliers here, I forgot to add a supplier for certain products. So at the bottom of the screen, and this may be true on your database, you're going to have a number of products that do not have suppliers. So shortcuts will not automatically move products into your supplier window if you've set your supplier after the fact. So what you have to do is, if you know the supplier or the name of the supplier for certain products, then you'll select them by clicking the gray block on the left side of the screen, and then you can drag and drop these products into the appropriate supplier so that the next time you generate an order, shortcuts will know these products belong to this certain supplier. So if you have something like this and you want to clean it up, just go ahead and tag a few of these at a time and drag them to the correct supplier. So the tonic shampoo, if I remember correctly, maybe it goes to TG. So every product you have should be attached to a supplier. You should not have any items listed under no supplier. So make sure you take care of that as well. So what about tracking the movement history of these products? So remember when I had you go to a certain company, a certain item, and go to the details to fix the barcode? So you do have other options here. You can, of course, update prices, update taxes, things like that. But the last option on the left side is movement history. So this will show you a complete trail of everything that's been entered for the system. When you sold an item, when you received an item, when you did an inventory count and it showed up on the inventory. So on here is your complete history for this item. So if you're not quite sure, are something's selling or something's moving, yes or no, what happened to this product? Take a look at your history. Okay, so let me hide this window again. Hold on just a second. Okay, so for here, we're going to go back to the presentation and we'll bring this up again. So now we actually went into a database and we learned the basic settings. We know how to add suppliers. We know how to add products. Now activating and inactivating. This is important because perhaps there are some companies you no longer want to carry, or there's some products you're no longer going to carry. So in shortcuts, even though there's occasionally a button that allows you to delete things, whether it's a customer, a service, or a product, we would never advise you to delete them. And the reason we do that is because at the end of the year, when you're doing your reports, when you're doing your taxes, if you start deleting things from the system, it's kind of hard to prove you ever had any business. So to make sure that you have the ability to run accurate reports, but get rid of things that you're not interested or no longer carrying, you will always find a column or a checkbox that says active. And if I no longer carry this dermal clay cleanser, for example, I can uncheck the active checkbox. And the next time I go into my inventory, this product will be hidden. The same rule applies for customers. You can make them inactive, and services. You can make those inactive as well. But in the future, if I decide to carry these items again, then on the bottom of the screen, if you notice, you will always have the option to tell Shortcuts, show me my inactive items. So if I do that, I can bring those companies, lines, or products back from their inactive status. So that's always a possibility. So this way you're not deleting things, you're just hiding them because you don't need this information right now. So always keep that in mind. Now, bear with me. Okay, so let's go back. And here we are. So we know how to hide things, add things, track things. We know about product movement. So that is just the basics in inventory. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive on product management in Shortcuts. So then we'll actually look at generating an order, receiving an order, and even doing an inventory count. So you need to have this as the foundation for us to build on when you're ready to do more advanced features. So you should now know the relationship between your suppliers, companies, and lines, how to set up all of those specific things, how to track them, how to work with your levels, how to inactivate them, and how to get into your option screen, your detail screen. So now we're going to open up the floor for questions. And of course, you can always sign up for more classroom sessions on our webinar page. Or if you just want to bypass all of that, you can always just go to our YouTube channel at Shortcuts USA, where we upload every video presentation. So my classroom sessions, or when Shortcuts Corporate does a feature rollout and we have a professional feature that we'd like to introduce, we also put all of those videos on our Shortcuts page. So you're welcome to just jump directly to that. So let's open up the floor for questions. If you're new to the presentations, on the right side of your screen, you should have a little question bar, which allows you to type out a message. And I'm going to open it up on my side. And I'll give everybody a moment. You might be taking notes. But if you had to leave early, or if you're watching this video after the fact later today or later this week, you can go ahead and send us a message, either our help desk, our education team, our customer success team, and even on social media. We do have people watching our Facebook, our Instagram. So if you message us there, we will get back to you, even if it's a question with regards to today's classroom session. So I'm checking. It looks like I don't have any questions this morning. And either everybody's asleep or everybody's running to their product screen right now and making sure they have all of their suppliers added. I'm going to say that's what's happening right now. Okay, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up this presentation. So again, if you have any questions after the fact, if you're watching this video after the fact, go ahead and send us a message. You can even message me. I'm at education@shortcuts.net. You can reach out to us on Facebook or on our webpage. And we will also be putting a recording of this presentation on our page a little bit later today. So thank you all for attending. And the classroom sessions have now returned to Tuesdays only. We're not doing Tuesday, Thursdays anymore, at least not during this period. So hopefully I will see you next week for the advanced inventory class. Thank you all for attending, and I hope to see you soon.